Today's daf we're going to be learning is Nedarim daf Kafeh. This is the daf for Shabbat. We're going to start at a quick review of the Mishna and what we were up to, and with that, get started with our daf. The Mishna had said, Nidrei Haval. These are crazy, exaggerated, meaningless vows. Like, if I saw, right, this will be forbidden to me, Konam, im lo ra'iti baderech hazeh kol Mitzrayim, if I didn't see 600,000 people going by, if I didn't see a nachash, a snake, like the beam, which we assume right now means like the size of the beam of the olive press, and that's a neder havai, which is not a neder at all, to which the Gemara said, just like neder havai are permitted, also shvuot havai are permitted. Again, there was a problem with the nusach. We're going with the version that it says permitted and not forbidden. Then they wanted to know, what is a shvuat havai? And we were in the middle of Rava's answer to that question, where someone said, all the fruits of the world will be forbidden upon me by oath if I didn't see 600,000 pass by, like the people of Egypt. To which Ravina said to Rav Ashi, maybe he wasn't talking about people. Never said people in that word. I was trying to say very carefully. Maybe he was talking about ants, like so an ant farm. So if I didn't see the amount of the people that came out of Mitzrayim, that amount of ants. Maybe that's what he meant. And that's what he meant, in which case it actually really is a shvuah. Maybe there really is. You could theoretically have seen 600,000 ants all at once. To which, question of itself. To which Amarle, Rav Ashi answers him, Ki mishtaba adat hadida mishtaba. When people swear, they take an oath based on the normal usage of a word. This becomes very interesting. Okay, we've talked about this before, that you could say that's not really what it meant. But within the range of normal, right? Within the range of, that's the language people use, but you can't go to some extreme language and say, when I said the amount of people that came out of Egypt, what I really didn't mean was people, I really was talking about ants. That's already way off the scale. Right? People don't think about ants and don't talk about them like people. And people, when they take an oath, they don't generally use the language that other people, right, that nobody else is going to use. They usually use the typical language. Okay, that's an assumption the Gemara makes, to which the Gemara questions that assumption. And we're going to have two sources that are going to seem to indicate that people would take an oath on their own, from using their own unique interpretation. And then we're going to have to answer why that's not the case, okay, and why these don't present a difficulty. And really, in the end, we're going to conclude that people generally do not take an oath in a very atypical standard of use of speech. Vahatanya, doesn't it say in a Breita, this is about a person. If you claim that I owe you $100 and I say I only owe you 50, it's called modeh b'miktzad, I admit to half. I have to take an oath that I paid you the half that I claim, and then I can only have to pay you the other half. So, to which the Gemara brings a Breita about this. When they make me take this oath, they say to me, don't you know, or you should know, it's not by any condition in your own heart, stipulation, right, that you make in your mind, right, heart, mind, all connected in this kind of literature. In those days, they would speak about it that way. It's not what you're thinking about in your head and, some sort of other kind of oath. It's on our minds. In other words, we're the ones determining what oath it is that you're taking and what you mean by what you say. Okay. Now, what are they trying to worry? What are they worried about when they say this? Must be okay. So is it not that maybe he paid him? Okay. The Ran explains what are iskandure. Okay. The way I like to say it, this is like small wooden pieces that they play with them. And he called them zuzim. Okay, I would say it like monopoly money, right? Oh yeah, I paid you $50. Yeah, I was in the game of Monopoly, but yeah, I paid you $50 and I swear to it. And then later when they say, what are you talking about? You didn't, that's not, you definitely didn't pay the money back. And you said, well, I meant Monopoly money. Obviously it's someone's trying to play a joke here, but theoretically it wouldn't be, they took an oath. They can basically theoretically get away with it unless someone catches them on it. So that's right. So that's what they're trying to get out of. And therefore, it sounds like people could do it al dat atzmam. Again, what is al dat atzmam? I mean, it means that when I said money, I meant monopoly money, right? So when I said, so the court is saying, no. It goes by what we declare money is, not what you declare money is. To which the Gemara says, lo, la fuke mikanya de rava. They're worried about something else. They're worried about a case, even though it's a braita. They're worried about something that happens later in the time of Rava. But it doesn't mean they're worried specifically because of his case. But obviously, there's other people that could do things like this. This is just an example of things that people could do, which wouldn't be swearing al dat atzmam. Okay, it wouldn't be making up your own interpretation, but it still would be playing around with the court. How so? It's kind of funny story. There was a guy who owed money to somebody else. He was claiming someone else owed him money. They went before Rava. So he says to the guy who borrowed money, pay me back. He said, I paid you back already. He says, okay, well then comes Rava says, you really paid him back? Go swear that you paid him back. So what did he do, this smart guy? He took a reed, which is hollow, and yav zuze begave, and he put all the money inside the reed. And he was leaning on it as he walked into court, like he needed a cane to walk with. And he's using this reed as a cane, which is full of all the money he owes. And then he says to the guy who he owes money to, can you just hold my walking stick for a minute? Nasiv Sefer Torah. So while the Malva is holding his walking stick, he passed him the money. He takes a Sefer Torah, and then he says, listen, I swear I pay, right? He takes the Sefer Torah, he swears on the Sefer Torah, I swear I paid you back everything I owe. So what happens? Now, in this case, he was swearing truthfully. This is what we're worried about. People like him who are going to sneak around and do something like that. Basically, the court's saying it's al da'atenu. It's what we mean, which is you really paid it back and not some stunt like this guy. Let's see the end of that story. It's kind of funny ending, and he gets what he deserves. So the Malva gets very angry. When he hears the other guy swear, he knows he didn't pay him back. It's super angry. He breaks the walking stick, and all the money falls out on the ground, and they realize what this guy has done. And they realize that he actually swore truthfully. Okay, now happens, right? He's not going to have a problem for swearing falsely, but he will still have to pay back the money. Akate, so that's the first attempt to prove. In the end, they say it's not trying to exclude a case of somebody swearing using their own unique language. No, it's a case of this reed case, something like that, and therefore it doesn't teach us anything about our situation. To which the Gemara asks question number 2. Really, people don't swear on their own? The Hatanya, doesn't it say in a Beit? We're going to learn from Moshe. When he made the Jewish people swear, this is when we say Mushba ba'omei b'Har Sinai. Okay, this is actually in Arvot Moab. It's not from Har Sinai. But when he made them swear in Arvot Moab as they went into the land, it's not al da'ati that I'm making you swear. But it's not al da'atchem. It's not in your own minds, in your own way that you're going to swear, basically, that you can claim your own language and it means something else. Ela al da'ati v'al da'at hamakom. But on my mind and on God's mind. In other words, I'm making you take an oath to make this brit with God, this covenant, and it's going to be on our terms, not on however, the wording you choose. How do we know this? Shenema, v'lo itchem levadchem. Okay, so if you look in the Ran, lo itchem levadchem, down a few more lines, what do we learn from? So first of all, the pasuk is lo itchem levadchem. It's in Devarim 29:13. Anochi koret et habrit hazot ve'et ha'ala hazot. Not with you individually, right? You by yourselves that I'm making this brit, which actually sounds like not just you, but future generations as well. So says the Ram, that's not what it means. So let's read the Ram from the beginning. He says, Lok shatem b'machshavet levavchem. He understands it, not the way you think in your heart. Itchem levavchem means not you according to what you think in your heart. She'im ba lomar she'afilu in derot haba'im haya koret brit haktiv b'tarhachi. If you think it's that he's talking about future generations, it says right after that, et asher yeshno po ve'et asher hinenu po. It says, I'm making this brit with those who are here now and even those who aren't here now, which means future generations. So therefore, this pasuk must mean something else, What must it mean? Exactly what we're trying to say. So my Moshe Israel, was it not that he said to them, Lav hachi karmalu, is it not this? Dilma avid tumile, v'amaritun al da'atenu. Mishum hachi amar lehem al da'ati. Right? In other words, just in case you use your own wording or use a word that's going to mean something else, and then you claim, oh, what I really meant was this, and I really didn't mean to accept the Torah. To which they say, la'afuke mai, what would the case come to exclude? Like, let's give an example. Lav la'afuke da'asiku shma la'avodat kochavim Eloha. Maybe they use the word Eloha to God, but God, the word Eloha also is a word used for avodah zarah, and they say, oh, God, we meant other gods, not you. From here you can see that people take words and use them not in their common usage. Eloha, and claim that means avodah zarah, or idol worship. To which the Gemara says, look, avodat kochavim ikre Eloha. That's not like saying ke'olei Mitzrayim are ants. That's like saying cherem could be kohanim, could be hekdesh, where it's, whether you say 50-50, I don't know the exact percentage, but Eloha is a word that's used in the Torah to connote idol worship also, which means it's a word that could go in both directions. It's not one of these unique cases where you said, I'm using it this very unique way that nobody else uses it. Again, it's like on a scale, what the percentages are, how many people use it. This is a pretty commonly used word for idol worship. How do we know this? Because the Torah says so. Dichtiv. All the gods of Egypt, I will show them. So there you see, Elohim means gods, even in the Torah. So second attempt doesn't work. Now the Gemara is going to go on a tangent because of this case and says, but Moshe had all sorts of other possibilities. If he wanted to make sure they weren't going to talk in the words of idol worship, he could have had them swear something else. Instead of saying, on my mind, al da'ati and al da'at HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he could have said, said, swear that you'll keep the mitzvot. Then it would have been obvious, the mitzvot of the Torah. To which they say, and we're going to have a whole slew of suggestions. Each time they're going to have an answer other than the last, and I'm going to give a different answer to all of them. Mashma mitzvot hamelech. Mitzvot could be the commandments of a king, not the commandments of God. You could say all mitzvot, which would then include the king, but also include God's mitzvot. Mashma mitzvot tzitzi. If you say all the mitzvot, maybe you meant only one mitzvah. Why? It said, shkula mitzvot tzitzi keneged kol mitzvot shebatorah. This mitzvah is considered equal in significance to all the other mitzvot put together, which means that you could say all the mitzvot really just meant one mitzvah. Okay, so let them say, we're keeping the Torah. Mashma Torah achat. But there's two Torahs. There's the written and the oral. And maybe they'll say, oh, we only swore in the oral Torah, not the written, or only the written, not the oral. Okay, so we could have said Torot in plural. Mashma Torah mincha Torah chata Torah Hashem. There's a whole bunch of parshiot in the Torah, besides minchas, or the chatat and the asha. There's all sorts of things that use the word Torah in it. And it could be, you could say, I was only talking about one of those, or a bunch of those. What if you say Torot and mitzvot, and that kind of includes everything? No, still, Torot mashma Torah mincha, mitzvot mashma mitzvot hamelech. Still, you could say Torot is other Torot, mitzvot or other mitzvot, and not the Torah ones, and then still you're nowhere. How about that? The whole Torah. Well, Torah kula mashma avodat kochavim. Just the commandment of not worshiping idols could be considered the whole Torah. Why? How do we know this? Titania, it says in a Breita, Chamura avodat kochavim shekol hakofer ba ki'ilu modeh b'Torah kula. It's so severe, avodat kochavim is so important that not to worship idols. Anyone who goes against it is ki'ilu modeh b'Torah kula. Anyone who goes against it is like doesn't admit to the entire Torah. So basically, by saying the whole Torah, you could just mean that I won't worship idols. What if I said avodah zarah, right? I won't worship idols and I'll keep the entire Torah. And then what else is it going to be other than the Torah? Inami, or alternatively, and here's where we're going to end with a big question, or mitzvot. So here we have finally two options that he could have done. He could have said avodah zarah and all of the Torah, or he could have said 613 mitzvot, and then it's obvious you're talking about the mitzvot and the Torah. There's no other explanation. So now they answer a different answer. Ela Moshe Rabbeinu milta delot lichanaka. Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to keep the language simple. He didn't want to get too fancy, complicated. He just wanted to keep it simple. So he said, Pamit, and of God's mind, and that's what you're swearing on. And that's why he said it, and that really could answer all of these questions that we had. And this was a tangent we got off on because we used this source about Moshe and the oath that he made them take, thinking it was trying to exclude someone swearing on their own mind. In the end, we explained it differently, that it was worried that they might say Aloha and say it was Avodah Zarah, but that's not this 1% or 10%, that almost nobody uses it in some weird, unique way. That's not what it was coming to teach us. So in the end, really, we assume people do swear in the common language. Now we're going back to the Mishnah, and we're going to better understand this case. What are they referring to? So again, the korat Beit Haba was this pole that would be attached with ropes. If you have the Koran, they have a good picture of it, to a big stone at the bottom, and then you would pull the beam. You would turn the beam around. It was attached to the stone, right? You would often have an animal dragging it, and then that would press the olives. So, to which the Gemara says below, what? Are there no snakes that big? There was a snake, the Hava B'shnei Shavar Malka. In the time of Shavar Malka, the king, he was a Persian king, comes up a lot in the Gemara, actually had a good relationship with the Jews, but that's not relevant to our story right now. He would eat 13 stables worth of hay and eat them all, and he was obviously a gigantic snake and could be the size of a beam of the olive press. Amar Shmuel b'taruf. So they say, Shmuel says it must be we're talking about not like the Beit Haba in terms of size, not like the beam of the Beit Haba in terms of size, but more in terms of the beam had nicks in it. It was notched. Okay, what was the reason? Because the rope would hang it would be in the notch. And therefore, since it was notched, what they mean is, if I saw a snake with notches like a beam, see, this snake is not so different from a beam, but a snake doesn't have these big notches. To which the Gemara is going to say, what do you mean? What do you mean? All snakes have notches. They have notches in their necks, actually. So they say, agabo taruf kamrim, on its back, like the pole, right? Like the beam. The beam has the nicks on the back of it. Also, the snake we mean on its back, not on its neck. Velitnei taruf. So then why didn't they just use the word that's not taruf like the korat Beit Haba? Would have been better. Or really, you should have just said im lo ra'iti nachash taruf. That would have been a better way to say it. Why do you add this Beit Haba? To which they say, milta agav orche comes from. It's actually trying to teach you something additional. By using that as their example, when they really meant notched, and they assumed somehow everybody knew that that's what they meant, they taught you that the korat Beit Haba is notched. Now, why is the Gemara, the Mishna, need to teach you this? L'may nafkamina, for what purpose? L'mekach u'memkar, for business purposes. Let's say you sell me a beam for an olive press. Now, if it turns out when I get it, after I pay the money and I get it and I see that it's not notched, I go back to you and I say, hey, this isn't what I ordered. So what are you talking about? It's a beam. You can use it for the korat Beit Haba. And I say, but wait, we learned from this Mishnah that every korat Beit Haba is notched and this one is not notched, and therefore either fix it up or give me my money back. So that's what it's a side halacha that it's coming to teach you. Moving on now to the next Mishnah, we're now on Amud Bet, nidrei shegagot. We're now on the next topic, this third category, shegagot, right, when you do something unwittingly. What would that be? Im achalti im shatiti. You take an oath that I didn't eat, right, that if I ate yesterday, or if I drank yesterday, meaning I didn't drink yesterday and I swear to it. And then all of a sudden he remembers, oh my God, I really thought I didn't eat or drink, but you're right, I did have a drink at some point during the day, or I did eat. That's shegaga. So that, again, you're not liable for, because that's a nidrei shegaga. Shani ochal v'shani shoteh. That tomorrow I'm going to eat, or tomorrow I'm going to drink. V'shachach v'achal v'shatah, and then tomorrow came and you forgot. Amar konam mishina hanei li sheganvat kisi v'shiktat b'ni. You take a konam, a neder, that my wife will not benefit from me because, and you give the reason, because she stole my wallet or she hit my son. V'noda shelo ikato v'noda shelo ganava. And then it turns out, we find out she didn't hit the child. Okay, maybe he was all bruised and it turned out he fell off a tree. Or she didn't steal his wallet was found, right? He can't find his wallet, he blames his wife, he makes this neder. Well, it turns out he was wrong, it's a shegaga, so the neder is invalid. Last case for this Mishnah, he sees a group of people eating figs off his tree from a distance. Okay, now according to the Bach, you add the words hare hen. Hare hen alechem korban. These figs will be to you like a korban, they'll be forbidden because he doesn't want people to eat them. So he forbids them in a vow to eat the fruits. When he gets closer, it turns out it's a whole group of people. Among those people are his brother and his father. Now, his brother and his father, he never would have forbade to eat his fruits. He thought it was strangers. So Beit Shamai was machloket Beit Shamai, Beit Hillel, what to do here. And we're going to see later in the Gemara, there's going to be a machloket about how to understand their machloket. In what case do they disagree? Beit Shamai he mutarin umashi mahem asurim. They are permitted, the brother and the father, because he really didn't mean it toward them, and everyone else is forbidden. Beit Hillel mutarin. Beit Hillel is of the opinion that we're going to see inside soon, quoted in the name of Rabbi Akiva, that neder shutar miktato hutar kulo. If you have a vow and you undo part of it, like part of it turns out not to be true, then the whole thing is not true. So since you undo the part about the brother and the father, the whole neder is irrelevant. Okay, it disappears. So now the Gemara starts off like it did on the previous one, except here we only have one version. Tana kashem shenidrei shegagot mutarim, kach shvuot shegagot mutarim. Okay, just like the nidrei shegaga are permitted, also shvuot shegaga, an oath that you said and made a mistake unwittingly, is also going to be permitted. What's a good example? It's a famous example. It's actually quoted by Tosfot and some other sugya. We'll get to it another time. Kigon Rav Kahana v'Rav Asi, two rabbis. Haden Amar, you can imagine the scenario. Shvuatana dahachi amarav. Haden Amar, shvuatana dahachi amarav. They each are so certain they know what Rav said about something. They each maybe were in the shiur, and this one says, I heard him say this, and someone else said, I heard him say that. Have this argument, they're so sure about their opinions that they get up and they swear, I swear Rav said this. The other one says, I swear Rav said this. Now, one of them is definitely wrong, right? Unless somehow Rav changed his mind and each one heard Rav say something. But still, the assumption is one of them is wrong, but yet they're so certain that they're right. And then each one thinks that they're swearing truthfully. But when it turns out we find out one of them was wrong, that's a nidrei shegaga. It was a mistake. They didn't really mean to say it, right? It's a shvuat shegaga, sorry. It's an oath that's a mistake. Obviously just heard it wrong or got mistaken somehow. Now going back to the story, last part for today, Ra'au tamuchli. So first we quote a Mishna from another place in Nedarim, Tnanatam, it says there, if I take an oath that or a neder, that I'm not going to eat drink wine or eat meat for the entire year. And then what happens? Potchin b'shabbatot b'yamim tovim. So we open a petach for that neder on Shabbat and Yom Tov, basically saying I didn't realize how much was going to make me suffer on Shabbos and Yom Tov. I wouldn't be able to keep oneg Shabbat and v'samachta b'chagecha. I'm supposed to be happy on the holidays. So basically, we allow them to undo the neder because of Shabbat and Yom Tov. So now the question is going to be undo what? The entire thing or just Shabbat and Yom Tov? But Rishonah, in the beginning, they would say, Otani yamim mutarim, ushar kol yamim asurim. Basically, Shabbat and Yom Tov, you're permitted to eat the meat and drink the wine, but the rest of the week you have to keep to your neder. To which, Ad Sheba Rabbi Akiva v'limed, until Rabbi Akiva taught this halacha that neder shutar miksato utar kulo. A neder that's partially canceled is entirely canceled, and therefore, basically, your neder is not valid at all. And that matches what we saw Beit Hillel said. Now we're going to have the first explanation of in which case did Beit Hillel and Beit Shamai agree, and in which case did they disagree. This is Raba. Tomorrow we're going to hear Rava. Amar Raba. T'kulei alma kol echad amar ilu ayiti yodea she'aba benechem ayiti omer kulchem asurim chutz me'aba. T'kulen asurim v'aviv mutar. If you say the language, okay, before he said, you're all forbidden. Kulchem, right? Kulchem. Then when he realized his father was there, he said, had I known my father was there, I would have said, you're all forbidden except for my father. Now in this case, everyone agrees that kulam surim v'aviv mutar. Everyone agrees with what Beit Shammai said in the other case, which is even Beit Hillel agrees that this isn't neder shutar mitzato, because he's basically he's saying when I said kulchem asurim, I just meant yes, you're all forbidden except for my father. So I put my father in a different category. It could be brother also. It doesn't matter. The point is he keeps to the original language of you're all forbidden. Just says one little exception. But lo nechleku ela, meaning they did argue in this case. Be'omer ilu hayiti yodea sha'aba benechem hayiti omer ploni u'ploni asurim va'aba mutar. If he says in the end, well, had I known my father was there, I would have said you and you and you and you and you, however many people are forbidden, and my father is permitted. Then already he's changing the language. Now, Beit Hillel will say, since you changed the language, that's a neder that you basically changed, and you cancel part of it, you cancel the whole thing. Beit Shamai will still say it doesn't really matter the language, it's still they're forbidden, he's asur. But because the language is different here, he changed the kulchem, that's why Beit Hillel would disagree in this case. If he kept the words kulchem asurim, that even Beit Hillel is okay with. But if he changes it, then he's already breaking the vow, changing it, and then he has to change it entirely. It's not a vow at all. With that, we're finished with today's daf. Tomorrow we'll continue with Rava and how he understands the machloket Beit Shammai Beit Hillel differently than Raba. Shabbat shalom, Shavua tov, everyone. Meet up on Sunday.